My name is Louise.
My name is Laura.
I'm a survivor
of domestic abuse.
Today
I'm
I'm
breaking my silence. What makes you the angriest when you look at what you've experienced?
I think for me, when I think back, it's the years that were wasted. So I was in that relationship from age 24 to 30. I was 30 when I left, but it still carried on for like a number of years. And I was thinking about this yesterday, and I just thought all those years that were that wasted, like I was stripped of who I was. And I'm 43 now, so it's taken me, I'm still working on becoming myself again, so it's just taken me so long. Right. So I do feel that everything, I've just wasted those years, but not just me as well. I've got 5 children, so it's the damage that it's caused them as well, which I see now that they're teenagers and older. It's the stuff that they're having to deal with to go through it as well.
I think it's really hard because I don't think people realise it's a life sentence, and they're
definitely.
one person's action. I'm very much, I believe in rehabilitation and things like that. And then on the other side of it, where's my rehabilitation? Where's my life going to start again? So I completely understand that.
And I think people think that once you've left, that's it. So it's I walked away when I was 30. But it's still 13 years later. There's still the triggers are still there, the trauma's still there. I'm still having to work through certain issues. So it's not just a case of once you leave that relationship, it's all done. It's all the work that comes afterwards as well.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I just feel why me? Why did it happen to me? Why do I have to work through all this? Because I could have just been enjoying my life, from 24 to 43. That's a long time. It's nearly 20 years that I've just feel that at times it's been a complete waste. I don't like saying that, but that is how I feel.
I think sometimes as well, both of us are in a similar situation where ours was years prior, and everyone's got a different journey. But even people's language, oh, yours happened ages ago, and they're just trying to gauge in their own brain when it happened. But it's are you saying that I shouldn't feel the way that I do? And stuff like that. So I completely get that.
And I didn't have any therapy or help. It's I just kind of just dealt with things in my own way.
That's the same with me.
So I feel that is maybe prolonged, the healing journey as well. So
I think I really struggle now. I got a master's in psychology, so I became my own therapist, and I genuinely believed I was healed. I absolutely was I'm fine. I've got a degree, a career, a house, my son, I'm good. And then I had my mental health breakdown, and I was fuck. 8 years later, and it's actually really affected me. And I always say, what if I'd got help when I left? What if the support was there?
Mind as well. If I had, I wasn't really given any help. No one came forwards to help me, but people didn't know either. So, I just kept a lot quiet. And I think if I had spoken up earlier on, could I have, just shortened this process as
I think the thing is everything is should have, could have, would have. And I was in it for 12 months, pretty much, only a year. And then I was in the mental side for about a year as well. So there's some people that have been in an abusive relationship for 13 years, and they say, oh, what if I'd have left early? I'm a prime example, because the abuse happened so quickly for me that it was really easy for me to leave as well. Not easy, but it was easier because he didn't have the massive hold on me mentally as other women. And I'm still fucked, so you can't look at it if I'd have left at 5 months, if I'd have left at 6 months. When you're getting violated, you're getting violated. It doesn't matter how long, how little. There's people that will get robbed on the street and then they can never walk on the street. That's one incident.
Everyone, it affects everyone's differently, doesn't it? And the fact that we've got children as well, and it's the impact that I see now, even years later. It's the impact that I see that it's having on my children, as my eldest is 23, and I know that she suffers with her mindset at times, and the memories that she's got as well when we was in that relationship. And I just see it down through my children, there's certain issues that they're finding hard to overcome.
With my son, we were touching on this earlier, when we talk about his like learning ability, his speech. You know, they blame that on trauma, and he was 4 weeks old when I left. So actually, like the exposure that he had was very limited to other people, yet they still put it upon that. And I think we live in a world where we try and make sense of things, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense because we wouldn't do that. So why does somebody else do that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. What immediate change would you like to see for victims and survivors in our community?
Make domestic abuse illegal. No. I want to make domestic abuse a punishable offence in England and Wales. I am actually petitioning it at the moment. Basically what happens, you've probably been through the court process, but what happens is they break it down into subsections. So for my ex, for instance, coercion and control, ABH and rape. What that does is it allows specific offences to be like, so ABH you can't really argue because there's photographs, there's maybe like admissions in videos and stuff like that. The rape, it's really hard to prove that. So his solicitor would be like, we will plead guilty for X, Y, and Z as long as you drop the rape.
Okay.
That then gives them a lesser sentence. It also reduces like time limits and things like that. So coercion controls just changed to 2 years, which is brilliant, but I believe that there shouldn't be a time limit on domestic abuse. And until we have domestic abuse as a punishable offence, it's never going to help. Now, Scotland have got it. So if Scotland can have domestic abuse as a punishable offence, why can't we? They're literally in the United Kingdom. And that's something that I really, really struggle with and really want to make like a massive, massive difference for.
Okay. That's really good. I didn't go through the court process, so I don't even, it's all alien to me, like I don't know nothing about it, so I think it's really good that you're raising awareness.
I went through the court process when I was in 2015, realised how bad it was, so I went back again in 2021, and like there's no difference. And I also think as well, so something like common assault. So I was tortured, I was waterboarded a lot, which meant that I had no physical evidence. There was no bruising and stuff like that because waterboarding, they shove something in your mouth and then they pour water on you. Over a prolonged period of time, in essence, they make you feel like you're drowning. But there's no bruising, there's no cuts, there's no marks. And actually, under the guise of the law, that's common assault. Now, common assault also is me and you meeting outside a pub and I push you. You know, where's the justice? Where's the comparison in that? Common assault within domestic abuse is a lot different to common assault outside a pub. And I'm not saying that it's not traumatic for someone who's had that experience, but it is different. I was raped when I was 14. I was raped in a relationship. Rape outside of a relationship, outside of a domestic abuse situation is very different. And I'd like him to be you domestically abused me. You know, that's on your record. Because something like Claire's Law, which is really, really brilliant. I'm sorry, I'll stop this monologue in a second. Claire's Law is brilliant, but ultimately, if you're just getting charged with ABH, how are they going to get put onto that Claire's Law register? You know, what about where mate, let me just
Right, you're educating me. I know none of this, so carry on.
It really baffles me. I absolutely find it so appalling that in 2022 we are still literally living in a world where they can't differentiate even ABH. You know, all of these layers that they get broken down into subsections. It should be ABH in domestic abuse, and then if you've been charged with ABH outside of domestic abuse, your charge is just ABH.
Makes sense.
And then it gives us not justification, it gives us satisfaction, and it makes us believe someone's listened to us.
Definitely.
We're now no longer just put into a category of ABH. People are recognising that this happened. And I was speaking to my partner actually, and I said that the problem with domestic abuse is like, for me, like I can handle the violations physically, but like the violation that I found the worst was like sitting in my own home scared to sit down on a sofa, and nobody is ever going to understand how scary it is to have your safe space violated. And until we actually put out that message that domestic abuse, you know, is a horrific crime within this country, we're not gonna change many people's minds. What piece of advice did you receive whilst you were still in the abusive relationship that sticks out the most? That's a hard one.
I kept a lot of it quiet. It's not even like I was telling people what was going on. So to be honest, I don't even think I got any advice. Like certain friends knew what was going on, but I don't know, it's really strange. Like when I look back, they knew what was going on, but I think people thought that if it was that bad, then I would just leave. So it kind of got to the point where, I don't know, I felt like maybe everyone was just ignoring the fact that it was happening, because I'd tell people it had happened again, but obviously I wasn't doing anything about it. So I don't even really feel like I was ever given like any advice. You know, people would say leave, but it's not.
It's
That's
such
simple,
like a...
is it? It never got any deeper than people would just be like, you need to leave.
Yeah.
That was it. Everyone would always say to me, you need to leave, you
Yeah.
need to get out of there. But that was it. It never went any further than that.
I think what you said as well, they said, oh, if it was that bad, you would have just left. Like, you're literally, with those words, you are literally like victim blaming. And I'm a massive one about victim blaming as well, and like how indoctrinated we are in society. We don't even realise that we are blaming the victims. Because you believe that you're being supportive. Someone's saying, oh, you know, you need to leave, or someone might have been like, oh, if it was that bad. But what you're saying to that person is, oh, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Because I can't leave. I've got no reason to leave. I love this man.
Yeah.
Oh, it can't be that bad. So they're right. You know, oh, I'm not going for abuse because if I was, I'd leave. And that's just such bullshit.
It is, yeah. And it's only when I look back now that I just think when those words were said to me, it's exactly that. I was thinking, okay, well, it can't be that bad. Oh, he's done this, but at least he hasn't done that. So it just got to the point, like every time he did something, it's like, oh, but he hasn't done this. So it's like there was always a list of, there was always something else that he hadn't done.
Yeah.
So if he hasn't done that, then, you know, I'm not going to leave. And so I don't even really feel like I got advice in a way.
I think for both of us as well, like that, I just said, as I read that out, that's a hard question, because I don't think I got advice. No. You know, like, and both of ours was 9 years ago, that it was such a different world back then as well. And it's nice and refreshing to know that it's moving at a very slow pace in the right direction. Yeah. At least it's moving. Because, I wouldn't be able to answer that. No one ever gave me advice. No. I didn't even tell anyone, and I was 300 miles away from my home. So, I mean, my neighbours knew, and they would always call the police, but there was nobody that would sit me down and say...
No, exactly. And even... you know, like all the different terms, I've only recently learned what all these different terms mean, you know, trauma bond and gaslighting. I had no idea that they were even a thing. So I just feel that back then, obviously I knew it was an issue, but I just feel like there was nothing available for me to like free, like there is now on the internet, you know, and you can follow people's accounts, etc. like we do, but there was none of that. Like, you know, no one had Facebook like back then, or Instagram. So it's, you just kind of felt like you were just in this world on your own. So I don't even know where I would have gone for advice anyway.
No.
If you could change anything about Frontline services, what would it be and why?
Weirdly, I had a beautiful thing with one of the Frontline services, which was the midwives. Okay. And I was connected to a lady who had suffered a domestic abuse relationship recently, and she was a midwife, and she was in this relationship for 13 years. And she said, like, as a health professional, I didn't even know I was in one. You know, how petrifying that is. But I had a beautiful story. The reason that I survived, the reason that I was alive, was because my midwife took it upon her to tell me her story. Okay. She had been abused. And I mean, when I gave birth, I had like footprint marks. It was very clearly abuse, like, you know, so they knew straight away. Social services got involved straight away. But what really changed it for me was my midwife said, you could be the best mum in the world, but if you're with him, you're putting his needs above your child. That really resonated with me. And then she related to me because she told me her story. And I do think stories are powerful. And we're not a statistic, we're not a number, we're real life fucking people. And if everybody within midwife, police services, you know, all of those could actually take away their prejudgment, take away, oh, she's going to go back. Like, so what if we go back? So what if we go back 7 times? You're actually, your job is to protect us and support us. So, do you know what I mean? And I really wish that they could all stop looking at us as a statistic and look at us as people and actually maybe relate in a way. Listen to your colleagues who's been in a domestic abuse situation. Who have you saved from a domestic abuse situation? You know, if I came to you and I said, oh, I've saved Flo, you know, this was her story, you might be able to be like, I can feel safe with that police officer, you know, rather than them doing the DV check and the questionnaire and like, like how many times has this happened? Like you just feel so impersonal, personal.
Yeah, the only experience I have, armed police were called to my house at one point, and he was taken away like for questioning, and then a female officer like came up to me and she just, I can't remember what she said to me now, but it was along the lines of, you know, is there anything more, you know, does it run deeper than this, is there anything more you want to tell me? And she gave me a card, and obviously I was just so scared at the time of, you know, if I did say what was going on, what impact that was going to have. I had children, you know, loads of things that go through your head, and I was just scared. He'd already got into my head, you know, that I couldn't tell anyone that was going on. So even though they took him away for questioning, I just said that everything was fine, and that was it. No one ever got in contact with me again or said anything. So I've not had any more experiences like with Frontline. So that was it really.
When do you feel the most connected to other women in our community?
I'm trying to think how to answer it. Sharing stories, like social media has been like a massive, has been massive for me, like over like the last couple of years. I haven't really had like any contacts with women, like little bits here and there, like over the years. But when I started following like certain accounts on social media, then I realised that there's just such, I knew obviously it's big and it goes on a lot, but I felt like part of something and being able to like to connect with the other women and sharing our stories as well, and also just like being believed, and you know that being able to share your story with somebody else, that they just 100% believe you. Like there's no,
make me cry.
Sorry, don't I'll cry. There is no doubt there at all. Like when I first got in contact with Lejla, it was like she just believed me straight away. There was no doubt there, or people used to say to me, what did you do to make him do that? Like people actually said that to me, but but no one in this community has ever said that. They've just, you know, just believed me from the start. And there's just such a deep connection there. It's lovely.
I felt really seen. I think I struggled a lot with my friends that had children young. They all co-parented. Whether they were together or broke up, they co-parented, and I was alone from him being 4 weeks old, and I just felt this isolation, this overwhelming sense that like I was completely on my own, and I felt like that for years. And when I started my TikTok journey, and the amount, like the sheer amount, it blew my mind. It still does. Like I get at least like 50 DMs a day of people telling me their story, of people saying that they're grateful that, you know, I've been able to share it so that they can see it as well, and they can feel like they're not alone. And I think that that's the most powerful part, is that I don't feel alone. I feel seen.
Yeah, and that it's not our fault either. I've struggled with guilt like for the whole time, really, up until recently. So being able to have that community as well and know that none of it was my fault, and it's been really, really powerful to have that backup as well and that support. And my following is like only small on social media, but it's the same. Like I will still get messages from women that relate to like things that I share, and of telling me that I'm helping them as well. So knowing that by, you know, speaking out and sharing my story as well, that it is helping others, and that's just massive.
I think the exact same, like in regards to when it comes to like media, the reason that we feel so isolated and alone, and the beautiful part of social media is we get to be in charge of our own story and our own dialect, and we don't have like the media cross-examining it or changing our words or diluting it, you know, and there's a lot of people that are seeing the raw, real footage of it. And you know, you said, oh, I don't have a big following, etc., but you've changed one person's life. That person may then go and share their story, and that person will change the next girl's life. And it's like a ripple effect. It's literally like COVID. You know, you touch one person and it spreads.
Okay. Have you or did you experience post-separation abuse?
Yes. That was a very close answer. Yes, I did. I didn't realise it. That's why I'm saying it with such conviction, because for ages, I mean, coercion and control was just not a terminology I understood at all. And I left everything behind, drove 300 miles back to my family. And literally for a year and a half, I was still paying his rent, his bills. I was taking loans out in my name for him. I was getting like, you know, even up until just before I called the police, he said that he would bomb my house if I would talk to the police, and I straight away like retracted back and was like, oh my gosh, I can't do that. So even then I still had that sort of like that emotional abuse. Weirdly, mine was the other way around for a lot of people, like my physical abuse, then emotional. And usually for some women, it's kind of like the other way around. But yeah, mine was definitely like an emotional abuse for a long time after, until one day I was just like, fuck this shit. I am done. I can't be asked anymore. And I called up the police.
Okay.
And I'm alive right now talking to you. So
it's amazing.
He didn't bomb my house. Like he said he was going to.
Weirdly enough, I had the same actually. So yeah, I just got up one day, left everything behind, just packed a bag for me and the kids, whatever clothes I could fit into like one bag and a bag of toys. And we just left. And yeah, I was bombarded, you know, with messages after that, phone calls. He would tell me that he was going to kill himself. He told me he was going to kill me. He would track me down. Like he would find where I was. Like he never even left his hometown.
Literally.
But he was just like, I'm going to like track you down. He's going to kill my family. He was going to set fire to my mum's house. Like if I went there, and because of the years of abuse I'd had and the mental abuse as well, there is like that side of you that just thinks, he could possibly do it.
That,
after what he'd done to me, it's not like it wasn't a possibility that he might actually come and track me down and do those things. Like he was unpredictable at times, and that just carried on all like for years. That carried on, and things like money as well. You know, like he would like transfer me money like for the children, or keep that from me and things like that. So having that control over like my finances in that way as well, or telling people, because like my story involves like drug abuse as well and alcohol abuse, and said that he would tell people, you know, like what the real me, like what I was really like, which has now led me to just be open and honest about everything anyway. So as the years went on, I was more open and honest about my history, like with drugs, and it's just, you know, it is what it is. Like I took them, I don't now, so it's all cool. But at the time, you know, I was absolutely petrified that people would find out that I was using drugs. I've got children. They, you know, I'm not. They'd see me as not being a good mother. They would get taken off me as well. And he knew that that's where my weakness lay, is that people would find out that's what I'd been doing. And that carried on for years. But same as you, like it got to a point and I just thought, I'm not fucking doing this anymore. And that's when I started being more like open and honest about my journey. So there's nothing that anyone can say that, you know, that is going to bring me down, because I've already said it.
I think it's interesting as well, like you're talking about like how you're open and honest, and like I was a typical trauma victim in the fact that I was too open and honest. Like I'd almost come up to someone and be like, hi, my name's Laura, I've been abused, you know, so I overshared. But it is that way of like, you know, my pennies just dropped right this moment when you're talking, and it's like, actually, I probably overshared so that nobody can ever hold anything against me, because I was similar. I had been into drugs when I was really young. When I met him, I'd been partying and stuff like that. So he would use that against
Yeah.
me, of course. And I come from like a well-to-do family, so like the idea that they would know, but now they know, you know. So really, what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
You know, I've got a career, I've done teaching and stuff like that. Like I've made a life, even though I've been open about my past. And so, but yeah, the penny has kind of dropped.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah.
So when you say it out loud, sometimes it actually makes sense, doesn't it?